Professor, just one minute there before funding. When we sit down to plan economic strategies or design policies like the ERGP, for example, the previous transformation agenda of Jonathan's administration, or even the Obasanjo's needs and seeds and whatever it is, Vision 2010, 2020, whatever, do we really put education as part of the mix of the portfolio of things that we need to invest in we think we can invest, we should have invested as to harvest some economic values from it?
Yes, if you look at, let me begin with the ERGP, the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan. It has three main objectives. One, of course, is restoring growth. The other is very important, which, of course, speaks to education, is investing in our people, and, of course, building a competitive economy. So investing in our people is very key. And that is where you have matters like social inclusion, you have youth empowerment, and then, of course, education. But unfortunately, when you now, cascade it down to the execution priorities set out in the ERGP has 5 execution priorities. You have maintaining macroeconomic stability, agriculture, self-sufficiency in food security. You have power, you have transport, and then you have the SMEs. The execution priorities now, sort of miss out the important aspect of the objective. So you don't find in execution priorities any of the areas addressing the issue of investing, in our people. And that was why, in my view, Bill Gates some time ago, talked about the ERGB not adequately addressing the issue of education as part of the human capital development, because human capital development touches on not only education but also touches on health. So I think the ERGP, yes, has identified some priorities correctly, but it's also important that the issue of education assumes a lot of prominence. If you get to if you dig deeper into the document where it talked about education, part of the things it said there, include, for example, getting states and the private sector to establish the vocational training institute, ensuring that we have post-university skill acquisition centers, and nearly three years. Okay, not up to 3 years now. The ERGP was launched sometime in 2017. But what I'm trying to say here is that since then, we've not seen any move, in that direction. So the ERGP, while it is paying attention to transport, while it is paying attention to power, and energy, should also give attention to education. If you look at the focus labs, for example, that has been organized as part of the drive for the ERGP. The focus labs are based on agriculture, transport, and energy. Again, education is also missing. So it's important that education receives enough attention, in the ERGP. And I was talking about the importance of this. If you don't spend now on education, you are bound to spend more money on social intervention programs. You are bound to spend more money in future on trying to tackle, poverty. Look at the multinational Human Development Index that was released not too long ago. Of course, a major dimension of the multinational development index is education. You have education, you have health, you have living standards, and you have unemployment. So education is key. And what that index clearly revealed was that there is high incidence of poverty, in the country, and the intensity, can be felt particularly in the northern part of the country. So we need to spend on education now. Else, we risk, voting so much money on this trying to fight poverty.
Professor Waleke, we'll take a break, but just before we take a break, Just one question, and I'm still on this newspaper report today, the education sector. The special advisor to the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Obafela Banko-Lemo, says Nigeria lacks political will. Says lack of political will. That's how the newspaper here, the Punch, captioned it. Lack of political will is killing education sector. Is it the lack of money or funding, or lack of political, or we do not have the political will that is killing the education sector?
Yes, but I think I agree with him because political will also speaks to the issue of prioritization. If we prioritize, education, even within the available resources, within the scope of available resources, you could also put money on education. Look at the issue of UBEC, for example, the Universal Basic Education, for example. The UBEC Act gives the responsibility of secondary and primary education, to states and local governments. And even the little money that's made available, by way of universal basic education is hardly assessed by our states because of their inability, because that's again touches on political will, the inability of state government to provide their 50% counterpart funding to be able to assess the UBA funds. In 2017, as we speak, 2018, for example, we understand that out of 36 states, only very few states, have unassessed funds as at April. Talking about Lagos State, or Osun State, River State, and it's not surprising too that these states, when it comes to education,
Professor Waleke, let's take a quick break, Prof.
Doing well.
Professor, let's take a quick break at this point. We need to take a break very quickly. When we come back, Professor Uche Waleke will continue this on the investment and funding side. Stand by, everyone. We're back in 2 minutes.